Year 1110. A Castilian nobleman spies from behind the olive trees, ready to fire the most tardy farmhand in all of Madrid. But what his eyes behold defies all logic. Two teams of white oxen, guided by beings of light, plow the earth while a peasant prays on his knees. We are in 11th century Madrid, a walled town of barely 1,000 souls, nestled between the Manzanares River and the barren hills of Castile. The cross and the crescent moon fight over every inch of Iberian soil. The peasants live at the mercy of the sky. A drought could mean death, a good harvest, another year of life. In this setting of daily survival, where the plow weighs more than the sword and sweat is worth more than gold, God chooses to manifest His glory not in palaces or cathedrals, but in the dusty furrows of an ordinary field. He chooses a man without letters, without lineage, with no possession other than his calloused hands and a heart burning with faith. This is the story of Isidore, the farmer who transformed every workday into liturgy, every seed into prayer, every drop of sweat into offering. The saint who proved that the angels of heaven gladly descend to work alongside those who work for God. Isidore comes into the world around the year 1082, when Madrid is nothing more than a handful of adobe houses huddled around a recently conquered Moorish fortress. His parents, Mozarabic Christians who have survived generations under Muslim rule, preserve intact a faith tempered by centuries of silent resistance. At baptism, they give him the name Isidore, evoking the great doctor of the Hispanic Church, that bishop of Sevilla whose wisdom illuminated Visigothic Spain. But young Isidore will not inherit libraries or mitres. He will inherit a hoe, a pair of scrawny oxen, and the ancestral knowledge of how to wrest life from a thirsty land. Isidore's childhood unfolds between the adobe walls of his humble home, near where the church of San Andres stands today, and the fields surrounding the village. There is no school for the sons of day laborers. The only letters he will ever know are those of the Our Father and the Hail Mary, etched into his memory by his mother's patient voice. But this woman without a name in the annals of history passes on to him something no teacher could ever impart: the art of speaking with God as one speaks with a father. Each dawn, before the rooster breaks the silence, the family walks through the darkness toward San Andres to attend the first Mass. The boy Isidore learns that the day does not begin with the sun, but with the Eucharist. The years of youth bring turbulence. Almoravid raids from the south force many Madrid families to seek refuge in the safer lands of the north. Isidore, likely an orphan by now, migrates to Torrelaguna, an agricultural village in the foothills of the mountains. There he works as an itinerant day laborer, offering his alms to whoever needs planting or harvesting done. The masters change, the lands change, but one thing remains immutable: his custom of beginning each workday before the altar. The other farmhands mutter under their breath. Some call him a holy roller with mockery, others simply mad. What kind of worker wastes the best hours of daylight kneeling in cold churches? Isidore does not argue, does not justify himself. He smiles with meekness, and when he arrives at the field, works with a vigor that belies any accusation of laziness. It is in these years of anonymity that the metal of the future saint is forged. Without a spiritual director to guide him, without books to instruct him, Isidore develops his own mysticism, as simple as it is profound. Each furrow opened in the earth is a prayer, each seed planted, an act of hope, each harvest gathered, an act of thanksgiving. He does not distinguish between the sacred and the profane, because for him everything is sacred when done for love of God. This peasant intuition, which later theologians would call contemplation in action, springs forth in Isidore with the naturalness of water flowing from rock. When he finally returns to Madrid as an adult to enter the service of Juan de Vargas, he carries with him this wisdom distilled through years of fruitful solitude. He does not know that he is about to become the protagonist of wonders that will echo through the centuries. The return to Madrid marks the beginning of a new chapter in Isidore's life. The town has grown, new parishes rise alongside San Andrés, and the farmlands stretch beyond the ancient walls. It is then that he enters the service of Juan de Vargas, a nobleman of modest fortune whose lands extend across the Manzanares meadows and the hills of Carabanchel. Vargas seeks reliable laborers, men who won't steal grain or cheat on their working hours. The neighbors recommend Isidore to him, a tireless worker, they say, though with strange habits of a holy man. The nobleman hires him without suspecting that he has just employed the man who will transform his understanding of faith. It is also during these years that Isidore meets María Toribia, a young woman from Uceda whose piety matches his own. The marriage they enter into is not an alliance of convenience nor a family arrangement. It is the union of two souls who have found in each other a mirror of their love for God. Together they establish their home in a modest house near the parish of San Andrés. The routine they create would astonish many married couples of any era. They pray together at dawn, work separately during the day, she in domestic tasks and small errands, he in Vargas's fields, and reunite at dusk to pray vespers before sharing their frugal supper. They accumulate no possessions. Whatever remains beyond their sustenance goes into the hands of beggars and widows. The most heart-wrenching trial comes with the birth and near death of their only son, Ilan. The child, barely able to walk, escapes his mother's watchful eye one day and falls into a deep well in the courtyard of their home. Maria screams in desperation. Neighbors come running, but no one dares descend into the darkness of the well, whose waters are known to be icy and deep. When Isidore arrives from the fields, he finds his wife on her knees, not crying hysterically, but praying with superhuman serenity. He kneels beside her. Together, husband and wife, they raise a silent plea to heaven. And then the impossible happens. The waters of the well begin to rise slowly, as if an invisible hand were pushing them from the bottom. They rise and rise until little Ilan emerges floating, alive, smiling, without a scratch. The witnesses fall to their knees, some flee in terror. Isidore simply embraces his son and whispers, "Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit." This domestic miracle, known only to a few neighbors for years, works a definitive transformation in Isidore's soul. He understands with crystal clarity that God does not ask him to abandon the world, but to sanctify it from within. His vocation is not that of the monk who flees to the desert, nor that of the preacher who travels the roads. His vocation is that of the laborer who prays, the husband who loves, the father who teaches, the neighbor who shares. From this moment on, every daily gesture takes on a sacramental weight for Isidore. The plow he drives into the earth is the plow that prepares the Lord's field. The water he draws from the well is the living water that Christ promised to the Samaritan woman. The bread that Maria kneads with the wheat he harvests is a figure of the Eucharistic bread they both receive each morning. This mysticism of the ordinary, so foreign to the excesses of exalted mysticism, transforms Isidore into a contemplative with open eyes, a man of prayer with calloused hands, a saint in sandals, and with a hoe whose prayer perfumes the fields of Castile. The decisive confrontation between the celestial and the earthly erupts one spring morning when Juan de Vargas, fed up with his overseer's complaints, decides to personally solve the enigma of his most puzzling farmhand. The reports are unanimous. Isidore leaves his house before dawn, but doesn't appear in the fields until well into the morning. Where does he spend those hours? Perhaps he frequents taverns or indulges in hidden vices. The nobleman conceals himself among the olive trees lining the road to San Andres, wrapped in his cloak against the chill of dawn. He watches as Isidore leaves his house, walks with determined steps toward the church, and disappears inside. Hours pass. The sun climbs across the sky. Vargas feels his indignation growing. While this supposed devotee wastes time among prayers, his fields await hands to work them. Finally, when Isidore emerges from the church and heads toward the field, the nobleman follows at a prudent distance, mentally preparing the words of dismissal. But upon cresting the hill that overlooks his lands, Juan de Vargas stops, paralyzed. Beside the plot assigned to Isidore, which should be barren and untouched, two teams of oxen white as snow trace perfect furrows under the guidance of luminous figures whose faces prove impossible to look upon directly. The air smells of incense and freshly turned earth. Isidore, oblivious to everything, walks toward his plot, while the celestial beings fade like mist under the sun. When the laborer takes up his own plow, an entire day's work has already been completed. Juan de Vargas falls to his knees on the wet grass, tears streaming down his weathered cheeks. He will not dismiss Isidore. From that day forward, he will treat him as a brother. But the wonders of heaven also awaken the envy of hell. The other farmhands of Vargas, witnesses to the favors the master bestows upon Isidore, begin a campaign of systematic defamation. They accuse him of being a sorcerer who makes pacts with demons so his fields yield more. They whisper that Maria, his wife, practices dark arts inherited from converted grandmothers. They invent stories of nocturnal orgies and animal sacrifices. The slander spreads through Madrid like fire through dry stubble. Some neighbors who once greeted Isidore now cross the street to avoid him. Children throw stones at him, calling him a witch. Maria weeps in silence each night while Isidore comforts her with words from the psalm. Though my father and mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. The saint's response to persecution is neither angry defense nor subtle revenge. It is charity multiplied. He works harder, shares more generously, prays more fervently for his slanderers. When one of his most bitter detractors falls ill with malignant fevers, Isidore keeps vigil at his bedside for 3 nights, feeding him with his own hands until he recovers. The man, ashamed, becomes his most ardent defender. The third challenge comes not from men, but from the elements. A brutal drought scourges the region during the summer of 1120. Wells run dry, streams become dusty beds, crops wither before they can ripen. Hunger shows its skeletal face through the streets of Madrid. The peasants organize rogation prayers, penitential processions, animal sacrifices according to customs bordering on superstition. Nothing works. The sky remains relentlessly blue, without a single cloud to promise relief. One August noon, while Isidore works in a parched field where not even grass grows anymore, he feels in his heart a compassion so intense for his hungry brothers that he falls to his knees, sobbing. Without thinking, almost by instinct, he strikes the cracked earth with the tip of his ox goad, that long stick with an iron point he uses to guide the oxen. From the ground springs a jet of crystal-clear water that soon becomes an abundant spring. Farmers from neighboring fields come running, incredulous at first, jubilant afterward. They drink, fill jugs, lead their thirsty animals to it. The fountain does not cease flowing. It continues flowing today, nearly 9 centuries later, in the meadow that bears the saint's name, and its waters have been associated with countless healings that science cannot explain. The most subtle trial, however, is the one Isidore faces in the silence of his own soul, the temptation of vainglory. When the wonders multiply and his fame spreads beyond Madrid, when nobles and clergymen seek his counsel and beggars await his blessing, when even the bishop of the diocese sends emissaries to investigate the rumors of holiness, Isidore could have let himself be seduced by spiritual pride, that disease which has destroyed so many aspiring saints. But the laborer of Madrid remains anchored in the most radical humility. When asked about the miracles, he responds that he has done nothing, that everything is God's work, that the witnesses probably exaggerate or confuse what they saw. He continues wearing the same patched burlap as always, eating the same legume stew, sleeping on the same straw mattress he has shared with Maria since their wedding day. He refuses the gifts offered to him, immediately redistributing them among the poor. When someone calls him a saint, he frowns with genuine displeasure and replies that only God is holy, and that he is a sinner who needs mercy every day. This humility is neither pose nor false modesty. It springs from a conviction rooted in the deepest part of his being. Everything good in him is a gift received, and the only possible merit is not to hinder the action of grace. The angels plowed his fields, not because he deserved it, but because God wished to show that the prayer of the poor is worth as much as that of the king. Water sprang from the rock, not because of his holiness, but because of his brother's thirst. Isidore lives each day as if it were the first of his conversion, in need of forgiveness, hungry for the Eucharist, grateful simply to breathe. The winter of 1130 finds Isidore with a broken body, but a radiant spirit. Nearly 5 decades of labor under the Castilian sun have taken their toll. The hands that so often grip the plow now tremble when holding a spoon. The legs that traversed endless fields can barely carry him from bed to hearth. Maria, his lifelong companion, cares for him with the same tenderness with which they once cared together for little Ilan. The humble house beside San Andres has become a place of quiet pilgrimage. Neighbors, former fellow laborers, even some nobles who remember the miracles of decades past, come to receive a final blessing from the holy farmer. Isidore receives them all, though each visit exhausts him further. To those who ask for advice, he always repeats the same words: love God above all things, trust in his providence, sanctify the work of each day. These are not new or original words. They are the only ones he knows, the ones he has lived for 40 years of furrows and prayers. The first days of spring bring a premonition that Isidore recognizes without fear. One morning, after receiving communion from the hands of the parish priest of San Andres, who has come to his bedside, the farmer calls Maria and takes her hands in his. He thanks her for every day shared, every prayer said together, every silent sacrifice. He asks her not to weep when he departs, for he goes to be reunited with the one whom they both have loved above all things. Maria nods through tears, unable to speak. Isidore then asks that they bring in the few friends waiting outside, former day laborers who worked at his side, neighbors who witnessed his miracles, Juan de Vargas himself, now elderly, who never forgot that morning among the olive trees. To all of them he speaks with a weak but clear voice. May they persevere in faith, may they not fear death. May they remember that God's angels are always present, even when our eyes cannot see them. Then he asks for the wooden crucifix that has presided over his home for decades, clasps it against his chest, and closes his eyes, murmuring the name of Jesus. The death of Isidore, which according to tradition occurred on November 30th, 1130, goes almost unnoticed by the world. No royal chronicler records the passing of a landless laborer on the outskirts of Madrid. No bishop delivers funeral eulogies. The burial is simple: a coffin of rough wood, a procession of poor neighbors, a grave in the parish cemetery of San Andres, alongside other anonymous peasants whose names time will erase. But from the very first day, something extraordinary begins to manifest. The sick who visit his tomb return healed. The farmers who invoke his name see their harvests prosper. The mothers who entrust their children to the Holy Farmer see them grow strong and devout. The fame of sanctity that Isidore rejected in life flourishes unstoppably after his death. 40 years after the burial, when ecclesiastical authorities order Isidore's remains transferred inside the Church of San Andres to protect them from the uncontrolled veneration drawing crowds to the cemetery, the workers who open the grave step back in terror and wonder. The farmer's body lies intact, as if he had been buried yesterday. The skin retains its flexibility, the features remain recognizable. A soft fragrance, impossible to describe but unmistakably celestial, emanates from the remains. There are no signs of decay, no smell of death, no cadaveric rigidity. The Bishop of Madrid, urgently summoned, certifies the miracle before notaries and witnesses. This incorrupt body, which will traverse the centuries defying all natural explanation, will become the most eloquent silent testimony that Isidore the Farmer lived a life that transcended the merely human, a life in which heaven and earth met each day among furrows of wheat and prayers at dawn. The seed planted by that illiterate laborer germinates with unstoppable force in the centuries following his death. The kings of Castile first, and of Spain thereafter, adopt Isidore as special protector of the crown and of the military campaigns of the Reconquista. Alfonso VIII, facing the greatest Almohad threat ever to cross the strait, orders the saint's relics carried to the decisive battle of Las Navas de Tolosa in the summer of 1212. Chroniclers of the era narrate how a mysterious shepherd guided the Christian troops through a secret pass in the Sierra Morena, allowing them to surprise the enemy. Many identified that shepherd as Isidore himself, interceding from heaven for the land he had plowed in life. The crushing victory over the Almohads, which forever changed the course of peninsular history, became associated in popular memory with the patronage of the peasant from Madrid. 4 centuries later, in the spring of 1619, King Philip III lies dying in Casarubios del Monte. The court physicians have exhausted all their remedies. The royal chaplains administer last rites. Queen Margaret of Austria, desperate, orders the incorrupt body of Isidore brought from Madrid, preserved in its crystal and silver urn. When the relics cross the threshold of the royal chamber, the monarch experiences an instantaneous improvement that the doctors deem inexplicable. Philip III not only survives, but fully recovers his health. This prodigy, verified by dozens of witnesses of the highest nobility, definitively accelerates the canonization process that had been stalled for decades in Roman offices. On March 12, 1622, in an unprecedented ceremony, Pope Gregory XV inscribes Isidore in the catalogue of saints alongside 4 giants of Catholic spirituality: Ignatius of Loyola, the Basque soldier who founded the Society of Jesus; Francis Xavier, the apostle who carried the gospel to the ends of Asia; Teresa of Avila, the reformer of Carmel and mystical doctor; Philip Neri, the saint of Roman joy; among founders of orders, missionaries of continents, mystics of dizzying heights, and reformers of the church, a peasant who never wrote a single line nor preached a sermon takes his place with equal dignity. The cult of Saint Isidore soon transcends the borders of Castile to spread throughout the Catholic world. In 1960, Pope John XXIII, himself the son of Lombard peasants, officially proclaims Isidore patron of all farmers in the world. From the Argentine pampas to the Philippine rice paddies, from the French vineyards to the Colombian coffee plantations, millions of men and women who work the land invoke the laborer from Madrid each day. His feast, celebrated on May 15th, gathers multitudes in the Madrid meadow that bears his name, where the spring that burst forth from his goad still flows with crystal-clear water. The incorrupt body, displayed in the collegiate church of Saint Isidore, receives each year the veneration of pilgrims arriving from all 5 continents. But beyond processions and relics, the authentic legacy of Isidore lives on in every farmer who prays while sowing, in every mother who sanctifies household tasks, in every worker who offers their sweat as incense. The message of the illiterate saint resonates with renewed urgency in our age of frantic activism and rootless spirituality. There is no true prayer without honest work, nor honest work that cannot become prayer. The highest contemplation flourishes not despite the everyday, but precisely at its heart. The angels who plowed alongside Isidore wait invisibly beside all those who, with calloused hands and a clean heart, till the Lord's land. Thus concludes the story of a man who never sought glory nor recognition, who never delivered eloquent speeches, nor wrote treatises on spirituality. And yet, his silent life speaks louder than 1,000 sermons. Isidore teaches us that holiness is not the privilege of the learned, nor the monopoly of the consecrated. It is a universal calling that blossoms wherever a humble heart surrenders without reserve to the love of God. In a world that worships frantic productivity and despises contemplation, the laborer from Madrid reminds us that working and praying are not opposing activities, but twin sisters. Every task performed with love becomes liturgy. Every honest effort rises like incense before the throne of the Most High. The fields that Isidore plowed continue bearing fruit in those who, following his example, discover that the deepest furrow is the one traced in one's own heart. The spring that burst forth from the dry earth of Castile continues to flow, because divine grace never runs dry for those who trust in providence. And the angels who descended to plow alongside the saint remain present, invisible but real, ready to multiply the work of all who, before grasping the plow, first bend their knees. Saint Isidore the Farmer, patron of agricultural workers and master of prayer in everyday life, pray for us.